Good morning, lords and ladies. Welcome back to A Morning with the Lord. Today's date is the 23rd of the 11th, 2021. Another cloudy morning here in the New England. Nice and damp. Great for the plants. Now today I have lined up here for us a few news stories from Channel 9. Now, I thought I would start with what looks to be obviously not a good story, but slightly comical. The story is titled Sex Torsion Racket Fleecing Intimate Photos and Videos from Hundreds of Victorians. The old sex torsion racket. I wonder if that means there's a crew of chicks going around blackmailing. There's a small video here, it's only 1:57 long. So I thought we would give it a quick listen.
Came from a familiar face. Hey, question. But the answer led this woman into the dark web, threatened and exploited by a stranger behind a screen.
They didn't get money, they didn't get anything else out of it. It's purely just to humiliate people and have control over people.
After hacking a Facebook friend's profile, an online creep asked Vanessa to verify a code, claiming they were locked out of their account.
I pretty much just said yes, because I just thought it was a friend from netball.
Instead, it unlocked hers and every message she'd sent, including an intimate video to a partner. The hacker threatened to forward that to the 30-year-old's contact list unless she stripped off her clothes on Skype. She complied, but the video was distributed anyway.
My family members got it. So my sister and my brother-in-law both got it.
Obviously, it's really oppressive, offensive, and and we feel for these vulnerable victims.
Cybercrime detectives have identified 34 victims since July 2019, but believe there are hundreds more.
It could be a singular individual, or it could be a group of people who are sharing the same script.
The problem is, tracking down those responsible is a technological nightmare. They could be right here in Australia or anywhere else in the world, hiding behind VPNs and crippling entire networks of friends on social media.
They're actually actively targeting the next one at the same time. It's getting to a stage where they can't defeat the technology, so now they have to defeat the person at the other end.
To protect yourself, use two-factor authentication and security questions for all online accounts. Verify a friend's identity in other ways, and remember, you'll never be asked to unlock someone's account for them.
There'll be a lot of people who will not be okay with it, and I would hate to think the effects that that could have on someone else.
That actually turned out to be a little bit more on the ridiculous side than I thought. I think it's funny you get a story like this while the government's trying to bring in all these new laws. I mean, this sort of stuff, fuck me. There's worse things that happen online. I mean, my uncle just had $1,000 something taken out of his account because someone rang up and tried to, said they were from the Commonwealth Bank, or whatever bank he's with. I don't think it's but you get what I mean. Now, this stuff goes on all the bloody time. I mean, since the inception of the internet, we've had, how many African princes take money off people from email scams. I mean, this is going on before emails. Bloody hell, you had scammers. You've always had scammers and grifters. They're going to figure out how to do it. And 34 people, bugger me. There could be hundreds more. That's bugger all. It's a very small percentage of people attacked by that certain type of cybercrime. But see, this is directly targeted at women, and is something that most people are going to hear and go, fuck that, I don't want that happening. And true, you don't want that happening, but we all are fully aware that this does happen, and we should be conscious of it. Don't go clicking on shit. And it's getting worse, but it makes you wonder how many people could possibly be buggering around with cyber what's that? Quantum fucking computers. They reckon we got quantum computers and stuff now. We're on the brink of it. Some unis have it. Wouldn't surprise me if then, government agencies had it. Maybe not here in Australia, but possibly in the States. And yeah, I don't know. Let's read this story anyway. Intimate photos and videos of hundreds of Victorian women are being fleeced by an online sextortion racket. The scam involves the offenders blackmailing victims into performing sex acts on camera after hacking into their private messages. One of the victims, Vanessa, had an intimate video she had sent to a partner distributed to her entire phone contact list, even after she complied with the demands. The scammer hacked one of her Facebook friend's profiles and messaged her, claiming the friend was locked out of their account and needed her to verify a code. Yeah, I'm just reading ahead a little bit here. That's basically the same story we just heard. Yep. All just exactly a script, basically, from the story we just heard. So yeah, there you go. Once, as always, we have hackers and scammers on the internet. Surprising news, I know. But, let's just try and process it and move forward. I'm just having a look here. The next two stories I have up are coronavirus related. So before we delve into any of that business, I'm just going to play another short video for you here, and then hopefully the story isn't a transcript of it, but this is the title of this story is New Police Offensive to Hit Global Crime Gangs in New South Wales. This was published on the 22nd. I did scan through this article a little bit before. It is a lot bigger than this story, so we'll have a quick listen here and then we shall have a look at the story.
An early morning bust in Sydney.
Oh, fucking ads. Sorry.
Sydney's western suburbs. A man arrested after 1,000 litres of pseudoephedrine, the key ingredient in ice, were found in a storage shed. It's a win for the new joint strike force between New South Wales Police, the AFP and the Criminal Intelligence Commission.
This operation is absolutely targeted on bikies, on triads, on cartels, and quite frankly, hitting them where it's going to hurt them, which is going to be taking their assets.
The task force will use intel from 170 AFP officers based overseas in 33 countries.
We'll be going after their logistical arms, their financial arms and their operation arms all at once. That has not been done before at the scale that we're going to embark on.
The joint force of 20 officers based here in Sydney will be up against it. Last month, a senior officer with the New South Wales Crime Commission said criminal gangs were now starting to overpower authorities. And recently, a commissioner with the AFP said 90% of criminal networks were now operating with impunity. And the AFP have another issue to contend with: right-wing groups targeting politicians.
And even on the weekend, we had to mobilise a number of resources based on specific threats against different members of Parliament.
The AFP Commissioner wouldn't detail the nature of the threats or the MPs who were targeted. 4 weeks ago, British MP Sir David Amos was stabbed to death as he met with constituents.
We are very aware that there are people in Australia who wish to do parliamentarians harm, whether that be at the federal level or at the state level.
In Melbourne last week, protesters wheeled in makeshift gallows with an effigy of Premier Daniel Andrews. Mark Burrows.
Well, that took a sinister turn at the end there, didn't it? This seems surprising that they would tuck in that little bit about protesters and radical groups in Australia. It's no doubt they exist, I'm sure. And what was that they said about some dude getting stabbed? Hold on a sec, I want to go back in, because I never heard about that, I don't think.
Do parliamentarians harm, whether that be at the federal level or at the state level.
Oh, I didn't go far enough. My bad.
Who were targeted. 4 weeks ago, British MP Sir David Amos was stabbed.
Oh, British MP. Yeah, right. I think I might have heard about that, but that's pretty radical. But, Yeah, strange. Anyway, let's read this article here. A new multi-agency task force in Sydney will face off against some of the worst feared criminal underworld organisations whose tentacles have sprawled into New South Wales and beyond. South American and Mexican drug cartels, Chinese triads, Italian mafia, and international bikie gangs are top of the Operation Fobiteur hit list. A joint operation linking Australian Federal Police, New South Wales Police, and Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission. Based in Sydney, the team of 20 will develop intelligence on underworld gangs who are smuggling guns and huge consignments of illicit drugs into New South Wales and laundering dirty cash in the billions. Operation Fobiteur went public with its first arrest today, charging a Sydney man after police had seized 1,100 litres of pseudoephedrine. Police footage of the man's arrest, which was carried out last week, showed armed police executing a dawn raid on a home in Seven Hills in Sydney's northwest. I just said went public today with its first arrest, and then in the next paragraph says police footage of the man's arrest, which was carried out last week. It doesn't bother me that they're using the wrong dates, because with a criminal type of operation like this, why would you even put out news reports at the very start? Maybe the news got a hold of it, but then why did they get the footage of the arrest? Wouldn't you want to keep this under wraps just for like a week or two? You know? I don't think putting out a fucking national report is the most prudent way to go about it. Anyway, what are you going to do? I'm just scrolling down a little bit because it's just talking about that arrest. The pseudoephedrine they got possibly had a $184 million street value. 3 men have been charged, and They face a maximum penalty of life behind bars. Okay, down to important information again. Operation Furbitor builds off the back of Operation Ironside, a remarkable international law enforcement sting which saw Australian police and America's FBI fool hundreds of criminals into using an encrypted phone messaging platform that was being operated by police and special agents. I fucking knew it. You know, when I lived in WA, right, all of the drug dealing which was done basically over a phone app. I've never seen anything more stupid in my life. I mean, you know, they're dumb enough to get caught, whatever, but who in their right bloody mind thought that they were going to get away with any of that? On a fucking phone app. It saves the messages and shit. People are just posting their fucking pictures of their shit and having randoms just come around and rock up at their house or like drive around and meet them. I couldn't believe it. I mean, fuck me, didn't anyone grow up on 90s movies and shit? Like, we knew even in that sort of paranoid, exaggerated world, people wouldn't use the phones to talk about it and shit because, you know, police could bug lines and stuff. What was it? Did people think a VPN was going to fucking just make them right? I don't know, it's incredible to me. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep reading here. The encrypted communications, which allegedly include plots to kill mass drug trafficking and gun distribution, were decrypted from a platform covertly run by the FBI called AMwtL. Why are they telling us the platform? They'd want to be done. Otherwise, fuck, this is stupid. This is as stupid putting out all this information as it is for people to sell drugs over phone apps. On top of intercepting guns, illicit drugs and laundered cash, Operation Furbitor will also focus on people in the public and private sector, including border officials and freight company workers who are being paid off or blackmailed to help organise crime. While the AFP and ACIC, using new powers granted by Parliament in August, Minister for Home Affairs Karen Andrews said Operation Furbitor will break open trusted insider networks, crack encrypted communications, and track the movements of the proceeds of crime. Police will have a particular focus on seizing the ill-gotten gains of serious organised criminals, she said, including cars, houses, cash and jewellery. Operation Furbitor will target criminals who thought they were invisible or untouchable, AFP Commissioner Reece Kershaw said. Minor heading, what is Operation Ironside? Operation Ironside was part of a global policing operation and involved the use of a secret encrypted app to catch criminals. The AFP and FBI secretly used an encrypted platform. Oh, we've read this. Operation Ironside, known as Operation Trojan Shield in the US and Europe, led to the arrest of 224 offenders on 526 charges in every mainland Australian state. That's a decent crack. 224 people in each state. Across the globe, the FBI said 800 suspects were arrested and more than 32 tons of drugs seized, including cocaine, cannabis, amphetamines and methamphetamines. Police around the world confiscated 250 guns, 55 luxury cars, and more than 190 million in cash and cryptocurrencies. Since 2018, under Operation Ironside, Australian police have seized 3.7 tonnes of drugs, 104 number of weapons, so that could mean bats and poles as much as it could mean guns, $44.9 million, and assets expected to run into the millions of dollars. And that's the end of that story. Surprising nothing written there about the right-wing activists. Almost as if that was just randomly tacked on. But surely not. Surely not. Okay, moving on to the next story now. Alright, this story is titled New South Wales Government's Ban on Construction During Lockdown Went Further Than the Health Advice. Now it's another 2-minute video here, so we'll just give that a quick gander.
Made during Sydney's second wave was shutting down construction, the entire industry.
There will be a pause on all construction, large or small.
But 9 News can reveal this was not the health advice. As cases kept growing in July, Kerry Chan told Brad Hazard in an email there is a need to further reduce mobility of people and reduce workplace transmission events, advising just the closure of residential construction and non-essential repair services. Instead, the government shut everything, putting hundreds of thousands of tradies out of work for 2 weeks.
For me as a business owner and for all my staff, the anxiety it caused and the issues that arose from that was absolutely devastating. It was such a hard time for us to deal with.
On July 13, when the email was written, there were 99 new cases of COVID. A fortnight later, there were 176. 6 weeks after that, we hit 1,600. The sledgehammer had the opposite effect and cost the economy more than $1 billion.
It was so frustrating for us to be sitting at home doing nothing when we could have been at work, working to the guides, working to the code, and actually getting something done.
No other state shut down construction. The government repeatedly said this was based on health advice. Now we know that's not true.
Kerry Chan's advice was also ignored when she wanted to put the same restrictions across the entire city. Instead, the government decided to put strict rules and curfews on certain LGAs in Western Sydney.
I don't think the government was being straight with the people of New South Wales throughout the pandemic. Clearly, they had internal advice that they weren't following.
But as Treasurer, Dominic Perrottet constantly argued with Gladys Berejiklian about her restrictions going too far. Now, as Premier, he has to hope people like Tane have short memories.
The pain and suffering that it caused us is something that will be with us for such a long time, for me and all my staff.
Chris O.
Here we go now. We're getting into it. I think I'm going to call a run on. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I hate this bullshit that you spilled. This is absolute crap. I would like to harken back to when those restrictions were put in place. And let us not forget, they said short memories, and they're trying to pull this shit. Like, I don't think anyone's memory is that short. If you I can't believe this is happening already. How many people got into arguments over this shit? How many people were called everything under the sun for even suggesting that the government was going too far? Like, it wasn't very long ago. Let's all remember the lengths that we were willing to go to, and how many people were breathing down our fucking throats. And now they're coming out saying, like, giving the reports that the medical advice was different. Of course it was. No shit. Now all you have to do is watch that health advisor's bloody speeches and you can tell they've been written for her. She stumbles up on words all the time and fucking she never read that shit nor wrote it. Fuck me drunk. Oh my god. And, you know, fucking hell, I bet you that like 70% of the people who were out there fucking upping everybody on social media who tried to suggest different to the plan, you know, I bet you they're going to turn around now and be on like, oh, Gladys Berejiklian shouldn't have done that, I feel betrayed, and then they'll jump on this fucking bandwagon and be all up the fucking government for a couple of months. You're a bunch of wanks. Yeah, and do you think where will be the bloody Twitter feed of apologies? Where will be the Facebook comments of fucking, you know, everyone saying, oh shit, I was wrong? There won't be a single one. Not a single fucking one. I bet you any money. If there is one, someone send it to me. Put it on the Lord Duffield page, and I can give that person a round of applause. And I'm saying person because I bet there won't be fucking more than one. I can't believe it. Alright, let's have a read here. The New South Wales government's decision to shut down the entire construction industry during lockdown in July went further than the health advice recommended, Nine News can reveal. That's a weird way to put it. Nine News can reveal, as if they've been given prior approval. You're a news company. If you find information, you can reveal it. Anyway, in an email to the state's health minister, Brad Hazzard, New South Wales Chief Health Officer, Dr. Kerry Chant, said more measures needed to be taken to stop the spread of COVID-19. There is a need to further reduce mobility of people and reduce workplace transmission events, she wrote, advising the closure of residential construction and non-essential repair services. And this is the thing too, just interject again, how much money did that cost us? Like, people should have the shits, and like now this is coming out, we should jump on them for it, because and then they'll look back like it probably, well, no, it hardly slowed down shit. We still got the virus, we're at 80%. Like, and I don't think it would have made all that much of a difference. I bet it would have made some. It would have made some difference. But was it worth the cost? Anyway, instead, the government and then Premier Gladys Berejiklian shut residential, commercial and state-owned infrastructure project like WestConnex, putting hundreds of thousands of people out of work for 2 weeks. On July 13, when the email was written, there was 99 new cases of COVID-19. A fortnight later, there were 176. 6 weeks later, on September 10, the state recorded 1,603 cases. The sledgehammer did not have the desired effect and cost the economy more than $1 billion. There's someone here, Tane Butterworth, as a business owner, complaining it was so frustrating sitting at home doing nothing. Of course it was. Dr. Chance's advice was also ignored when she pushed the same restrictions for the entirety Sydney instead. The government put curfews and harsher restrictions on certain council areas. I don't think the government was being straight with people of New South Wales through the pandemic. Clearly they had advice they weren't following, New South Wales opposition leader Chris Minns said. While he was the treasurer, Dominic Perrottet constantly argued with then Premier Miss Berejiklian about her restrictions going too far. Now he is Premier, he will need to deal with the fallout from the construction industry and people like Mr. Butterworth. Okay, that's just what I said again anyway. Well, that's the end of that, but, well, there you go. Channel 9 has officially reported the government was full of it, had different advice, and they shut down too much. And like I said, if we can just think back to how hysterical everyone was at that point, or at least the social media feeds, which, wow, I wonder why they could have been so worked up. But anyway, the government should have been there to calm people down. You know, this is what I've been repeating over and over. When you have such different evidence to what you're saying, and you make these contradictory points all the time, you've screwed yourself. Obviously people have had the shits for a while for this to come out so soon. Like, we haven't even reduced mandates yet on, like, the vaccines. It's meant to happen in December, but we're not even at that point yet, and already we're hearing about lies and reports that the government was being untruthful. I imagine that's because people have been waiting to say this for a while. But no, at that point we had to let the hysteria fucking rule. Oh well. So that's that one. Now, we're going to talk about New Zealand. The title of this article here is Air New Zealand cancels more than 1,000 flights as New Zealand shifts to living with COVID-19. It says here, about 20,000 travellers looking to cross the Tasman before Christmas have had their flights cancelled amid continued uncertainty over quarantine-free flights between Australia and New Zealand. Auckland will come out of a 3.5-month lockdown on December 3rd as the country gives up on wiping out the Delta variant and instead starts to live with the coronavirus. But with no sign of when quarantine-free travel would be resuming with Australia, Air New Zealand on Monday afternoon announced the cancellation of more than 1,000 flights. It's strange. I wonder why they couldn't... Well, it's not strange, but I wonder why they couldn't have called them quarantining flights and then got those people to follow those rules, whoever could. Well, let's read on. The flights between now and December 31 are the latest to be scrapped since New Zealand suspended the so-called travel bubble in July amid Delta outbreaks in New South Wales and Victoria. This will be particularly tough news for families and friends who were hoping to catch up over Christmas. But our hands are tied until border restrictions ease and we receive further clarity from the New Zealand government. Air New Zealand Chief Customer and Sales Officer Leanne Garati said in a statement, "Currently, fully vaccinated travellers can fly from New Zealand to Australia without going through quarantine by presenting a negative PCR test. But Australians need to apply for an exemption to enter New Zealand, and with only a few exemptions, all arrivals, including citizens, need to spend 2 weeks in quarantine." Mini heading here. New Zealand tries new virus attack. From 11:59 p.m. on December 2nd, New Zealand will bring in a new traffic light system that will block unvaccinated residents from venues such as bars, gyms and restaurants. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the system was simpler and would allow business to stay open at each level. While no country to date has been able to eliminate Delta completely, once it's arrived, New Zealand is better positioned than most to tackle it, Ms. Ardern said. Auckland would open up under red level restrictions with status of the rest of the country to be determined by vaccination rates. The number one thing every New Zealander can do to prepare for the new system is to get vaccinated, she said. If you're due your second shot, get it as soon as possible. Vaccine passes will operate in the traffic light system, and if you aren't fully vaccinated, you'll find you're unable to access a range of places like bars, gyms and restaurants. The country will fall short of an ambitious target Ms. Ardern last month set of getting 90% of all eligible people across each of 20 health districts fully vaccinated before moving to the new system. The traffic light system is designed to indicate where outbreaks are putting I don't care about that traffic light system. Director General, especially in high volume, is not trivial, blah blah blah, ends there. I will leave a link if anyone wants to read up on the New South Wales traffic light system and what is said after. But that sucks for anyone that was wanting to go to New Zealand. We have a lot of Kiwis over here working and whatnot, considering we are neighbours, go to the Anzacs, and it's an utter shame that that has to happen. Yeah. And I find it strange they're implementing these rules on December 2nd when we're here talking about dropping all mandates by December 15th. I guess it has to do with their coronavirus vaccination rates. I'm not sure. Alright, I think that might have been all of them for today. I did have a story up here titled "Vaccination Gap Remains in Australia Despite Nation Hitting Milestone," but it is the most clickbaity of clickbaity articles you could imagine. There's only about a paragraph of writing, and then it just has the vaccination list for every state. There's no mention of a vaccination gap, it just shows the numbers, which is, yeah, great title, totally informed. How is that? Would that pass? I will leave a link to it. You know, would this story titled "The Vaccination Gap Remains in Australia Despite Nation Hitting Milestone," check it out and tell me if you reckon that would pass in a, what do they call themselves, journalist class? What sort of things are they teaching in journalism at university? It'll literally, yeah. It shows graphs, lots of numbers, lots of subheadings, but no actual definition of what they call a vaccination gap. So with that said and done, lords and ladies, today has been the 23rd of the 11th, 2021. I am Lord Duffield, your friendly host of A Morning with the Lord, and I will leave you there. I hope everybody has a lovely day.